This video is about Osiris raises temple, but enemy strikes. If this myth excites you, please like the video, share it with friends, and write in the comments how it pulled you into the adventure. In the age when gods walked among mortals, when the sky blazed with colors unseen and the earth hummed with power, the great god Osiris had set his will upon the realm of Gem. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in hues of crimson and gold as Osiris, lord of the afterlife, commanded the mortals to raise a temple, a sanctuary dedicated to honor those who had passed and to welcome the souls of the departed into the eternal embrace of the afterlife. Osiris stood tall, his skin a rich ebony, adorned with a crown of white feathers and a flowing linen shroud reflecting the light of the waning sun. His eyes glimmered like twin emeralds, filled with a deep wisdom that transcended time. He watched as the people of Kem toiled with sweat and determination, their hearts aflame with faith and reverence. The temple was to be the grandest in all the land, a symbol of hope and a beacon for lost souls, stretching toward the heavens with soaring columns made of gleaming alabaster. As the mortals laid stone upon stone, whispers twisted through the air. Among them a figure lurked in the shadows, cloaked in darkness, a being consumed by envy and hatred. Set, the god of chaos and desolation, watched with furious eyes, his heart seething at the rise of Osiris' temple. For Set, the weight of his brother's legacy was unbearable, and he sought to unravel the fragile threads of destiny. "Tonight I shall strike." Set growled, his voice a serpent's hiss. "Let the mortals taste despair, and let the god of the afterlife know the taste of betrayal." As night descended, the air thickened with anticipation. The temple stood nearly complete, illuminated by flickering torches, casting shadows that danced like spirits among the stones. Osiris summoned the winds to carry the prayers of the faithful high into the heavens. But unbeknownst to him, darkness approached with the weight of an impending storm. In the heart of Kem, a great feast was held in honor of the temple as nearing completion. The mortals gathered around wooden tables draped with colorful fabrics, feasting on bread and roasted fowl, laughter mingling with the scent of spices. Osiris himself walked among them, his presence a comfort. "My children," he spoke, his voice rich and warm, "tonight we celebrate not only the temple but the bonds of life and death that tie us together. Cherish these moments, for they are fleeting." Yet as joy filled their hearts, in the shadows, Set prepared his army of nightmares. Twisted creatures born of chaos emerged from the void, hungry for destruction. With every heartbeat, the ground trembled, and the sky roared, the forces of Set stirred. In the flickering torchlight, a young warrior named Ammon felt the tremor beneath his feet. A mural of the new temple adorned the wall behind him, but in his heart, foreboding whisper grew louder. His father had been a guardian of Osiris, and Ammon had vowed to protect the sacred ground. "Something stirs in the dark," he told his companion. "Merit, a fierce shield maiden with a fiery spirit." "I can feel it." Merit, eyes sharp as a hawk, nodded. "We must remain vigilant. Should shadows emerge, we will stand, shoulder to shoulder, as protectors of our god." With a determined heart, Ammon stepped to the edge of the feast. The laughter around him faded as he watched the horizon, where storm clouds churned ominously. The villagers continued their celebrations, blissfully unaware of the threat that lurked. Suddenly, a piercing cry shattered the night, a howl that reverberated through the valley, filled with malevolence. The air turned cold, and the stars vanished behind a shroud of darkness. "Warriors!" Ammon shouted, raising his sword high. "To arms, if the enemy approaches!" Chaos erupted as shadows slithered from the hills, Set minions descending like locusts, their forms grotesque and nightmarish. The air filled with the sounds of clashing metal and anguished screams as the mortals scrambled to defend their sanctuary. Ammon fought fiercely, his blade slicing through the encroaching darkness, while Merit stood beside him, her shield a bastion against the tide of chaos. They pushed forward, rallying their fellow warriors, but the enemy was relentless. "Press on, brothers and sisters!" Ammon cried with fervor. "For Osiris, for our people, we shall not falter." But amidst the battle, a heart-wrenching sight struck Ammon like a spear through the heart. He spotted his father, the venerable guardian, surrounded by fiends. With each swing of his sword, his father fought valiantly, yet the dark tide surged, threatening to overwhelm him. "Laugh!" Ammon shouted, desperation fueling his words. "Father!" He broke from the formation, dashing toward his father, but the moment felt like an eternity. As he lunged forward, a howl of triumph echoed through the air, and in a brutal clash, a dark creature struck. The blow landed hard, sending Ammon sprawling to the ground. "Keep fighting," his father roared, his voice filled with both strength and sorrow. "This is our destiny." In that moment, Ammon grasped the weight of his family's legacy, his heart swelling with an unyielding determination. He rose, bloodied but unbroken, and surged forward again, slashing through the ranks of Set's minions. Together! Mer called, her voice piercing through the chaos. We must save Osiris' temple. Fight for the light. As the battle raged, Amon's eyes locked on the figure of Set atop a rocky outcrop, his laughter a chilling melody that echoed above the fray. Set raised his hands, and the darkness bloomed around him, swallowing the light. Fools! Set belted, his voice drenching the air in malice. You think you can stand against divinity? Watch as I consume your hope and paint this land in despair. With each word, the shadows pulsed and writhed, and the temple began to crumble, stone swelling as if caught in a tempest. Panic spread among the defenders, but Amon, feeling the weight of his father's legacy upon his shoulders, refused to yield. No, he bellowed, turning his gaze toward the temple. We shall rise. We are the children of Osiris. We will not let darkness reign. Gathering the last reserves of strength, Amon rallied his comrades. We are not mere mortals. We are forged from the light of the sun, and we shall return to it in honor. With fierce conviction, the warriors of Kem surged forward, pushing against the tide of Set's dark creations. Each strike against the monstrous foe sign of their desperation, their honor, their sacrifice. They fought not for glory, but for the legacy of Osiris, a legacy that must endure. As the battle reached its crescendo, Amon charged towards Set, wielding his sword with the fury of a tempest. The dark god smirked, anticipating the youth's foolishness. Come, boy, let me show you what true power feels like, Set taunted, summoning a wave of shadows to engulf Amon. But in that moment, a blinding light surged from the temple, illuminating the battlefield. A glimmer of hope ignited in the hearts of the warriors, igniting their resolve. Amon, heart racing, drew on the power of the light. Osiris, guide my hand, he shouted, channeling the energy of their god into his blade. With a force that split the air, he lashed out at the darkness, the sword glimmering with the essence of the fallen heroes. The light clashed against Set's shadows, illuminating the night as a titanic battle unfolded, a dance between chaos and order, a conflict of destinies. Face me, brother! Amon roared, lunging forward with all his might. The clash echoed across the field, the weight of their family's legacies intertwining like threads in a tapestry of fate. As the battle raged on, the fate of Kem hung in the balance, with Amon and Merit standing as the last bastion of light. Above, the stars flickered, but deep within their hearts, the ember of perseverance burned, refusing to be extinguished. In the midst of the chaos, the whispers of Osiris echoed through the winds, a promise of hope and rebirth, a reminder that even in darkness, the light of the fallen would forever guide their way home. The war for Kem had only just begun. The wind howled like the wails of lost souls, carrying the scent of fear and the acrid tang of battle. Amon's heart pounded as he faced Set, the embodiment of chaos and vengeance. The dark god's laughter echoed ominously, a haunting tune that reverberated against the stone of Osiris' temple, now a battlefield drenched in blood and desperation. Do you think you can defy me? Set sneered, his eyes glowing like coals in the dark. You are but a flickering candle in the tempest of my wrath. With every word, shadows coiled around Set's form like serpents, ready to strike. But Amon stood firm, emboldened by the cries of his fellow warriors. The light of Osiris shall pierce through your darkness, he declared, feeling the rush of courage ignite within him. With a furious roar, Amon lunged forward, his sword gleaming as he struck at the abyss that threatened to engulf him. The clash of metal resounded like thunder, filling the air with a cacophony of defiance. Set met his strike with a wave of shadows, a force that sent Amon reeling backward, but he steadied himself, recalling his father's lessons on resilience and honor. Feel the futility of your struggle, Set hissed, gesturing toward the chaos unfolding below. The mortals fought valiantly, but the tide of darkness was relentless. Each fallen warrior threatened to extinguish the flicker of hope that burned within Amon's heart. Yet even amid despair, the flicker grew into a flame. Amon caught sight of Merit, her fierce spirit guiding the defenders like a beacon through the storm. Fight, my friends, fight for honor, fight for Osiris, her voice rang out, cutting through the chaos like a blade. Amon felt the warmth of their shared determination surging through him. We can't let his darkness consume us, he roared, and, unfurling his wings of courage, he charged forward once more. The shadows coiled around him like chains, but he severed them with each swing of his sword, fueled by the spirit of his fallen comrades, whose whispers urged him onward. The ground shook beneath them, and Set unleashed a torrent of shadows, monstrous figures emerging like nightmares given flesh. Amon fought through the waves, dodging claws and teeth that snapped mere inches from his skin. He fought with fervor, each strike a reminder of his purpose. But as the dark tide surged, he felt a familiar presence behind him. Ammon, his father's voice called, hoarse but unwavering. The venerable guardian staggered forward, wielding a shield embossed with the emblem of Osiris, steadfast against the darkness. "Father!" Ammon cried, relief flooding through him. "What are you doing here?" "I will not abandon my son to shadows," his father replied, his voice a steady anchor. "Together, we shall reclaim the light." With renewed vigor, Ammon fought alongside his father and Merit, their movements synchronized like a well-rehearsed dance. The three forged a path through Set's minions, the bond of blood and honor guiding them. For Osiris, they shouted in unison, their battle cry a rallying force that echoed across the battlefield. Yet even as hope flickered, the shadows shifted, twisting and morphing into creatures of unimaginable horror. With each step, the air thickened with despair, and Ammon's heart sank as he witnessed one of his comrades fall beneath the crushing weight of darkness. "Stay strong." Merit yelled, her shield raised high as she deflected a blow meant for Ammon. "We can't let their sacrifice be in vain." Amidst the chaos, Ammon's gaze fell upon Set, who stood atop the rocky outcrop, eyes glinting with malevolence. "You are a fool, Ammon. Your light will not save you. Your father is already lost," he taunted, gesturing towards Ammon's father, who was now encircled by shadows. "Death!" Ammon shouted, dread pulling in his stomach as he watched the dark tendrils wrap around his father. The shadows swept toward him, seeking to snuff out the light of the Guardian. But in that moment of darkness, a spark ignited in Ammon's heart. "Osiris, lend me your strength," he cried, raising his sword high, channeling his energy into the blade. The sword shimmered, radiating with the essence of his fallen kin, a testament to their bravery. With a battle cry that resonated through the very fabric of Chem, Ammon charged forward, the glow of his sword illuminating the darkness. "I will not let you take him," he screamed, cleaving through the shadows with a ferocity that surprised even himself. Set's laughter turned to fury as he raised his hands, summoning a storm of shadows to engulf Ammon. "You think you can defy me? I am chaos incarnate." Ammon pressed on, the whispers of the fallen guiding his hand. "You are nothing," he shouted, and with a mighty swing he shattered the tendrils that bound his father, releasing him from the dark embrace. His father, emboldened, raised his shield and joined Ammon in the fray. "Together we are stronger than any darkness," he proclaimed, pushing forward as the tide of warriors rallied behind them, drawn by the light that flickered against Set's impending doom. As the battle raged on, Ammon's resolve intensified. He fought not just for victory but for the souls of those who had fallen, their spirits woven into the very fabric of his being. "For every warrior who stands with us, we shall not falter," he bellowed, every word igniting the hearts of his comrades. But Set was undeterred, his eyes blazing with fury. "You think you can win this? I will consume your hopes and dreams." With a wave of his hand, he unleashed a tempest of shadows, a ferocious storm that threatened to swallow them whole. Now Ammon and his father stood side by side, the air crackling with energy as they locked eyes. "We fight together, my son," his father said, the weight of centuries behind his words. "It is our destiny to stand against the darkness." "Then let us seal our fate," Ammon replied, raising his sword as the shadows swirled around them. Together, they surged forward, a united force against the chaos that threatened to envelop Chem. In that fateful moment, the light from the temple surged, illuminating the battlefield with a brilliance that pierced through the veil of shadows. The warriors of Chem felt the warmth of Osiris' blessing, a surge of strength coursing through their veins. Ammon, emboldened by the divine energy, charged at Set, his sword glowing like the heart of the sun. "You will not take our home," he declared, launching himself at the dark god with a fury that resonated with the collective spirit of every warrior who had fought and fallen. Set howled in rage, and the clash of their powers sent shockwaves through the battlefield, the very earth trembling beneath their feet. The shadows writhed in agony, shrieking as the light engulfed them, illuminating the darkness that had long held sway over Kim. But Set was not easily defeated. With a roar, he summoned the full weight of his chaos, launching the shadows in a last-ditch effort to reclaim control. "You are nothing but a child playing with fire," he bellowed, the shadows coiling around him like serpents ready to strike. Ammon, fueled by the strength of his ancestors and the memories of those who had sacrificed everything, steeled himself against the incoming storm. "I am the son of Osiris, I embrace this light," he shouted, thrusting his sword towards Set, channeling every ounce of strength into a final strike. The clash was cataclysmic, a burst of blinding light and engulfing shadow that split the very fabric of reality. Ammon felt the weight of destiny upon him, and in that moment he realized this battle was not just for him but for the legacy of every soul who had walked the land. As the storm of chaos and light subsided, silence reigned for a heartbeat that stretched into eternity. The warriors of Kem stood breathless, eyes wide as they gazed upon the silhouette of Set, trembling and diminished beneath the weight of their collective resolve. "Your time is over, brother," Ammon declared, voice steady and sure as he raised his sword high. "We will revive the light, and your darkness shall be cast away." With one final thrust, he plunged his sword into the heart of Set's darkness, a blinding light erupting from the point of contact. The shadows screamed in fury, dissipating like smoke in the wind as the temple shone brighter than ever, a beacon of hope amid despair. The darkness began to melt away, revealing the beauty of Kem restored. The warriors of Osiris stood, battered and weary, but victorious. The temple, once threatened by chaos, now gleamed in the light of a new dawn, a testament to honor, sacrifice, and the unyielding spirit of those who fought for what was right. Ammon fell to his knees, breathless yet triumphant, the weight of his father's legacy embraced within his heart. "We have prevailed," he whispered, tears of relief mingling with the dust on his cheeks. The dawn after the climactic battle dawned with a silent reverence. Ammon knelt, the sands of Kem cool against his skin as dawn's first light painted the sky with brilliant shades of amber and cerulean. The temple of Osiris, now a majestic monument, stood as a testament to victory and the resilience of the human spirit. Its alabaster columns gleamed like the bones of ancient gods, a beacon for souls seeking solace in the afterlife. Yet, even in triumph, the air crackled with an unquiet tension, a whisper of foreboding that lingered like a shadow. The echoes of Set's dark laughter still resounded in Ammon's ears, and as he gazed upon the faces of his fallen comrades, the weight of their sacrifice bore down upon him. "Father," he murmured, looking up at the sky where the sun began to rise, casting golden rays that sparkled like sacred jewels. "What now? We have faced the darkness, but will it return?" Beside him, his father, the venerable guardian, placed a comforting hand on Ammon's shoulder, grounding him. "We have won the day, but the war against chaos is never truly over. Set's malice runs deep, and he will not rest until he unravels everything we have built." As they rose, warriors from Kem gathered around them, bloodied and weary, yet filled with a renewed purpose. Merit, the fierce shield maiden, stepped forward, her voice steady. "We must fortify our defenses. Set's defeat may have weakened him temporarily, but he will seek revenge. We cannot allow him to strike again." Ammon nodded, determination burning in his eyes. "We will build stronger walls around the temple. We will call upon the blessings of Osiris, and we shall prepare to shield our home from the encroaching darkness." The warriors cheered, their voices rising in a chorus of hope, surrounding Ammon like a warm embrace. As the sun climbed higher, the people of Kem began to work, constructing ramparts and fortifications. Stones were hewn and stacked, and the once gleaming temple transformed into a fortress of light. Yet, lurking in the shadows, dark omens whispered of Set's vengeance. Unbeknownst to Ammon and his companions, Set's fury burned like wildfire in the depths of the void. In a realm of chaos, he summoned his minions, creatures of shadow and nightmare-twisted forms born from his bitter envy of Osiris. They gathered around him like a tempest ready to strike, eyes glinting with malice. "Fools!" Set spat, his voice a venomous hiss. "They believe they have triumphed, but they know nothing of the darkness that flows through their veins. They shall pay dearly for their defiance." With a flourish, he extended his hand, and the very air crackled with dark energy. "Let them build their walls, I will tear them down. Let them celebrate victory, I will drown their joy in despair." The shadows coiled around him, ready to unleash chaos upon the unsuspecting warriors of Kem. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Days passed with the sun blazing, yet the villagers' spirits remained buoyant, bolstered by the belief that Osiris had granted them a reprieve. Ammon trained tirelessly, wielding his sword with zeal, sparring with Merit as their laughter echoed through the temple grounds. "Faster, Ammon, you must anticipate my moves." Merit called, her spirit glinting in the sunlight as she danced around him. "You read too cautious, trust in your instincts." Ammon laughed, adrenaline coursing through him. "I'll show you cautious, watch this." He lunged forward, sword raised, only for Merit to sidestep, spinning gracefully and bringing her spear to bear against him. "Ha, you thought you could outmaneuver me," she mocked playfully, her eyes gleaming. But suddenly the ground trembled, and the air thickened with a chilling portent. Ammon's laughter turned to alarm. What was that? Then, from the horizon, dark clouds rolled in, an ominous reminder of Set's vengeance. A line of monster shadows poured forth, grotesque figures slithering toward the temple, their forms a twisted mockery of life. "Prepare yourselves." Ammon shuddered, his voice carrying over the growing panic. "To arms, defend the temple." As warriors leaped into action, the ground shook beneath their feet, and the air was thick with a suffocating dread. Set's army, a swarm of nightmares, descended upon Kem, their snarls and roars drowning out the cries of the warriors. Fools! Set's voice rang out from the depths of the darkness. You thought you could build a sanctuary in my domain. Your light shall be extinguished. With a wave of his hand, shadows erupted, twisting into monstrous forms that lunged at Ammon and his comrades. The clash of metal against darkness echoed through the valley as the guardians of Osiris fought to defend their sacred ground. Fight for your families, fight for the light! Ammon shouted, his heart pounding with each strike of his sword. He clashed against the creature with jagged teeth, feeling the fury of Set's darkness surge within him. Beside him, Merit fought fiercely, her spear a whirlwind of death as she battled a towering shadow beast. Ammon, we must hold them back. We can't let them reach the temple. I want to let them. Ammon roared, his blade slicing through the engulfing darkness as he rallied his fellow warriors. We are the children of Osiris. We will not be claimed by shadows. But as the battle raged, Ammon caught a glimpse of the swelling chaos that was Set, an avatar of destruction standing atop a hill, his laughter echoing like a death knell. Can you feel it, brother? Set taunted, his eyes glinting with malice. You are but dust against my storm. I will scatter your hopes like ashes in the wind. With renewed vigor, Ammon charged, determination fueling each stride. I will not let you consume us, he cried, slicing through the minions that stood in his path. Your reign of terror ends today. Yet, even as he fought with fervor, shadows encroached around him, closing in like a noose. A massive creature lunged at him, jaws snapping inches from his face, and Ammon barely dodged, the stench of its breath fouling the air. Merit, he yelled, barely avoiding another strike. We need to push through. Together, they fought as allies bound by the fires of war, their movements synchronized in a deadly dance. But with every fallen shadow, more seemed to emerge from the depths, a ravenous tide of darkness that threatened to consume them whole. Hold the lane! Ammon shouted, his voice hoarse as he swung his sword, cutting down foes that threatened to overrun them. We can let them breach the temple. Yet despair gnawed at his heart as he witnessed friends and comrades fall, lost to the endless tide of chaos. A deep primal fear clawed at his chest, but he refused to yield. Remember the light, remember Osiris, he bellowed, and the warriors rallied, their hearts ignited by his fervor. But Set, watching from above, laughed. You cannot fight what has already been written. Your fates are sealed in shadows and despair. With a roar, he summoned a storm of dark energy, a tempest that swirled around him, feeding off the fear that rippled through the air. The shadows coalesced, pressing against the defenders like an unyielding wave, threatening to drown them in darkness. As Ammon and his comrades staggered, Ammon felt an overwhelming surge of desperation. Osiris, grant us strength, he cried, feeling the weight of his ancestors upon him, their whispers urging him forward. In that moment, the temple's light flared, a brilliant beacon pushing back against Set's encroaching darkness. The warriors of Kem, fueled by the bond of their shared struggle, felt the warmth of Osiris envelop them. Stand firm, we are the children of light. Ammon shouted, and with each word the light grew brighter, illuminating their path. Together! Ammon rallied, his voice strong and unwavering. We will drive him back. With renewed fervor, they surged forward, wielding their weapons with the power of their ancestors, driving the shadows back inch by inch. Ammon felt the pulse of Osiris within him, granting him strength as he faced Set head-on. Your darkness will not prevail, Ammon declared, the light shimmering around him like a radiant shield. Foolish boy. Set sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. You think your light can pierce the void? I will show you the true meaning of despair. In a moment of sheer determination, Ammon charged, blade raised high, ready to confront the embodiment of chaos. The clash between darkness and light echoed like thunder, the very fabric of Kem trembling as their destinies collided. Let the light be reborn, he shouted, as air around them exploded into a dazzling eruption of energy, a cataclysmic clash that sent shockwaves through the battlefield. In that moment, Ammon realized that the fate. Ammon's heart thundered in his chest as he surged forward, the clash between light and darkness becoming a deafening symphony of war. With each swing of his sword, he could feel the essence of his fallen comrades coursing through him, a relentless tide of hope pushing him onward. The shadows around him roared and writhed, as if sensing the resolve that burned in his heart, a light that refused to be extinguished. Push forward, Ammon shouted, rallying his fellow warriors. For every soul that has fallen, for every life we protect, we will not back down. The air thickened with fervor, and the warriors of Kem surged alongside him, their blades catching the sun's golden rays as they moved as one toward the heart of darkness. Around him, Merit fought valiantly, her spear a blur of deadly grace. Ammon aimed for the source, she called, her voice cutting through the chaos. If we can reach Set, we can break his hold over the shadows. With a fierce determination, she used her spear to dispatch a shadow beast, his cry echoing like a death knell as it crumpled to the ground. Together, Ammon shouted, pushing through the encroaching tide of darkness, inch by inch, heart racing with the weight of their collective struggle. As he fought, he saw moments of despair flicker in the eyes of his comrades, but he drew strength from their shared anguish, igniting a flame within him that refused to die. Remember the stories of old, he yelled, recalling the legends of heroes who had faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. We are the children of Osiris, we are forged of light and hope. His voice rang out like a battle hymn, a call for unity that echoed across the battlefield. The warriors responded with renewed vigor, pushing against the tide of shadows. But as Ammon fought, the dark clouds above swelled ominously, whirling with energy like a tempest ready to strike. Set loomed in the distance, his silhouette a grotesque figure against the stormy backdrop of chaos. You think you can vanquish me? He bellowed, his voice a chilling melody that reverberated through the very bones of Kem. I am the storm, I am the abyss, you are nothing but whispers in the wind. A deep rumble followed his declaration, and the ground shook beneath Ammoni's feet. He stumbled but quickly regained his footing, eyes locked on to Set. I will not let you take our home, he shouted, the heat of determination washing over him in waves. We will reclaim what you have tried to steal. In response, Set raised his arms, and shadows erupted around him, swelling like a cyclone of despair. The dark energy coiled and twisted, and monstrous forms surged forth, creatures of nightmares that defied description, creatures that seemed to be born from the very essence of fear itself. They charged at the warriors, their claws extended, eyes glowing with malice. Stand your ground, Ammon commanded, raising his sword high as he faced the approaching horde. We are warriors of Kem, we do not cower in the face of darkness. He sliced through the first shadow beast that lunged at him, feeling its essence dissipate like smoke in the wind. The battle raged on, and Ammon felt the heat of struggle all around him, a fierce dance of life and death. Onward, push through! Merit shouted, her voice fierce as she thrust a spear into the heart of a creature that threatened to overwhelm Ammon. We must hold the line. Ammon felt the weight of her conviction, and it ignited another spark in his heart. Together, he echoed, their voices intertwining like a battle hymn as they fought side by side. Yet, the shadows were relentless, and for every creature that fell, two more took its place. The tide of darkness threatened to swallow them whole, and Ammon felt doubt creep in, a whisper of despair that clawed at his resolve. Just as he began to falter, the shimmering light from the temple pulsed, reminding him of the sacrifices made for this very moment. Osiris, grant us strength, he cried, looking toward the radiant temple that now stood as a fortress of light. In that moment, he felt a surge of energy, a connection to the divine that coursed through him, filling him with the essence of hope. Forward, he bellowed, feeling the power of the god surge through his veins. The warriors of Kem responded in kind, their hearts igniting with the embers of resilience. They pressed forward, cutting through the darkness, their blades glimmering with the light of the fallen. Set! Ammon shouted, his voice ringing through the chaos. Your reign of terror ends now. He launched himself toward the dark god, his sword a beacon of defiance, fueled by the memories of those who had fought and fallen before him. Set's laughter echoed like thunder, reverberating through the very fabric of Kem. You are but a child, playing at war, he sneered, extending his hands to summon the shadows in a final act of desperation. You think your light can unravel my darkness, I will obliterate you. As the storm of shadows surged toward Ammon, he felt an overwhelming surge of power bubbling within him, the power of Osiris, of every warrior who had fought for justice, of every soul that had sought peace. No, he roared, thrusting his sword forward and channeling that power into a blinding beam of light. The energy erupted, a brilliant wave that crashed against the shadows, illuminating the battlefield in a radiant glow. The creatures screeched in anguish, their forms disintegrating into wisps of darkness as the light surged forward, leaving only silence in its wake. Now! Ammon shouted to his comrades, urging them to push through the remnants of Set's army. They surged forward, their hearts synchronized with the divine light, unified in purpose as they faced Set together. Fools! Set howled, his voice cracking with rage. You dare challenge me? I will bury you all? He unleashed a wave of darkness, but Ammon stood firm, a light from the temple enveloping him, shielding him from the darkness as if it were a second skin. With a roar, Ammon charged, merging with the light, the sword in his hands blazing like the sun. We will prevail, he declared, plunging the blade deep into the heart of the darkness that was Set. The impact sent shockwaves through the battlefield, a cataclysmic clash of powers that shook him to its core. As the forces collided, the very ground trembled, and the air crackled with energy. Ammon felt the weight of destiny upon him, a force that pushed him further into the heart of chaos. "For my father, for my friends, for Osiris," he roared, channeling the essence of every fallen warrior into one final, devastating blow. Set's eyes widened in shock, the shadows recoiling as the light consumed them. "No, this cannot be," he screamed, the darkness around him beginning to unravel, tendrils of his power dissipating into the air like ash. "I am chaos, I am eternal." With a final thrust, Ammon pierced through the heart of Set's darkness, the sword erupting into a blinding light that enveloped the battlefield. The shadows screamed in agony as they were consumed, flickering out of existence like stars snuffed in the night. As the light surged, the dark goddess form began to dissolve, scattering into the winds of fate. "This is not the end," he howled, his voice echoing in the void as he was pulled into the abyss. "I will return, I will have my vengeance." The light surged, enveloping the battlefield in a radiant glow that banished the darkness, casting away all traces of Set's malice. Ammon fell to his knees, breathless and trembling, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face as the echoes of despair faded into silence. The warriors of Kem stood, their breath mingling with the soft winds as the weight of their struggle lifted, replaced by an overwhelming sense of triumph. "Together, we have woven a tapestry of hope," Merritt whispered, her voice trembling with emotion as she surveyed the battlefield, where shadows had once threatened to swallow them whole. "We fought for our families, for our God, and for each other." Ammon looked around, seeing the faces of his comrades, some bloodied, some weary, but all alive, all standing together in the glow of the temple. "We have endured," he said, his voice steadying, "and we will continue to endure for as long as the light of Osiris shines upon us." The temple stood tall, a beacon of hope amid the ruins, its alabaster columns gleaming in the newly reclaimed sunlight. Ammon rose to his feet, feeling the warmth of the spirits of the fallen surrounding him, guiding him onward. "We will build from this moment," he declared, resolute. "We will honor those who fought with us, and we will ensure that Kem remains a sanctuary for the light." As the warriors echoed their agreement, a sense of peace settled over them. Even with the knowledge that the war was far from over, they had triumphed over one of the darkest threats Kem had ever faced, and together they were stronger than any darkness. And as the sun,